Hi everyone! Today we're gonna learn how to crochet a triangle base. I will use 7/9mm t-shirt yarn, a 6mm hook. We will also need 3 stitch markers and scissors. We start crocheting from making a magic ring. Make sure that your tip is on the right. So our magic ring is ready. If you've done everything right, you can pull the tip and make your circle smaller or bigger. Now we will make 9 single crochet stitches into this ring. To make a single crochet, insert the hook into the ring, hook the working yarn, it's the one that comes from the skein. Hook the working yarn and take a loop. Now we have 2 loops on the hook. Hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. We've made the first single crochet. Now make 8 more single crochet the same way. So insert the hook into the ring, hook the working yarn and take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So it's the second single crochet. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7. By the way, try to make the second loop the same height with the first one. 7, 8, and 9. So let's check if we've done everything right. One single crochet from the top looks like a V. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everything is right. Also from the side, one single stitch, also looks like V. So we can count here too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 single crochet stitches. Now pull the tip to tighten it in a circle. Pull it as strong as you can to make this hole in the middle of the circle as small as possible. So this is our first row of the future triangle. Now it looks like a little circle. And we are joining this row here, the last stitch with the first one. For that we make the loop on the hook a little bigger. Then we insert the hook under the first V stitch of the row from the back side. Hook the loop and bring it to the back side of the circle. Now find the last single crochet of the row. It was here, this V and this V. This was our last single crochet right before the loop. And now we need to insert the hook in the middle of this V, between these two strands of the yarn, right here in the middle of it. Then insert the hook into this loop, like this. Hook the working yarn and take a loop. Hook the working yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. So we've joined the first row and we've made the first stitch of the second row. In the second row and in all next rows, we will always insert the hook like we inserted it into this last single crochet from the first row. So we will always insert the hook in the middle of the single crochet from the previous row, between two strands of the yarn. For example, here, like this. In the middle of this V. And make sure that from the back side, your hook comes from the middle of the stitch 2, from the middle of this V. So this is how we will insert the hook while crocheting the whole triangle. So now find the next stitch. This was our joining, and then we have a single crochet stitch, V here and V here. So we insert the hook into this V, like I said, in the middle of V. Hook the working yarn and take a loop. Both loops have the same height. Hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So we are making like a single crochet, all the same steps, but just we insert the hook in the middle of this V. So now we have 2 stitches in the second row of the future triangle, and into the next single crochet from the first row we will make 3 single crochet into 1. So into this V, into the next V, we will make 3 single crochet into the same stitch, the same way, inserting in the middle of it. So this is the first stitch made into this V. Now again we make the second stitch into the same V, into the same place. Again insert the hook and make next stitch. So now we have 2 stitches made into 1, and we add 1 more stitch into the same stitch from the previous row to get 3 stitches into 1. So we've made 1, 2, 3 stitches into one, and on this one, on the second one, the one in the middle, we place our first stitch marker. So this was the first one, the second one, the third one. On the second one, then find the next stitch of the previous row, this B, and make a stitch into it the same way, only one stitch. Then one stitch into the next one. And into the next stitch from the previous row, we again make 3 stitches into one, the same way as we made it here. One, the second one into the same stitch, 2, and the third one into the same stitch, 3. So 3 stitches into one, and again on the second one, on this one, we place next stitch marker. And into the next one, we make just a single stitch, again a single stitch, and into the last stitch from the previous row, we make 3 stitches into one. One, the second one into the same place, 2, and the third one into the same place. One, 2, 3 into one, and we place the last stitch marker on the second stitch as before. So we have finished this row, and now we join it here the same way as we did it in the first row. So we make the loop on the hook a little bigger, then we insert the hook under the first V-stitch of the row from the back side, hook the loop and bring it to the back side. Then we find the last V-stitch of the row, this one, and insert the hook in the middle of it. Insert the hook into the loop, hook the working yarn, take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. So we have joined the second row and we've made the first stitch of the third row. In the third row and in all next rows, we will make 3 stitches into one into every stitch where we have a stitch marker. Into all other stitches we will make just one stitch. So now we make just one stitch into one until we get the first stitch marker. One stitch into the next one. One stitch into the next one. And the next stitch has a stitch marker. That means that we will make 3 stitches into one, into this stitch. Take off a stitch marker now. So we make 3 stitches into one. One, the second one into the same place. 2, and the third one into the same place. 3. So 1, 2, 3 into one, and we place a stitch marker on the second stitch. Next, again we continue making one stitch into one until we get the next stitch marker. And we came to the next stitch marker, so again we make 3 stitches into one. One, the second one into the same place. And the third one into the same place. So again we've made 1, 2, 3 stitches into one, and we place a stitch marker on the second one. Again, continue with making one stitch into one. And into the next stitch, again we make 3 stitches into one because we have a stitch marker. One, the second one into the same stitch, and the third one into the same. And again we place a stitch marker on the second stitch. And now we join this row the same way as we did it before. So we've joined the third row and made the first stitch of the fourth row. As you can see, it starts looking like a triangle already. So all next rows we crochet the same way. We make 3 stitches into one, into stitches with the stitch markers, and we make 1 stitch into one, into all other stitches. Let's crochet the next row. So first we make one stitch into one until we get the first stitch marker. Now we make 3 stitches into one because we have a stitch marker here. One, two, three, a stitch marker on the second stitch, then continue with one stitch into one, and into the next one, again 3 stitches into one. A stitch marker on the second stitch. And next stitch marker, 3 stitches into one. And a stitch marker on the second stitch. So we have finished this row, and now we join it here the same way as before. Now let's get rid of this hole in the middle of our triangle and this tip. For that I will use a needle with a big eye. And I will push my tip under the stitches around the hole until the hole is tightened. and then just cut the rest of the tip. Let's crochet one more row together. So again, we make one stitch into one until we come to the first stitch marker. Next stitch has a stitch marker, so we make 3 stitches into one. And we place a stitch marker back on the second stitch. The next stitch has a stitch marker, so we make 3 stitches into one again. Stitch marker on the second stitch. And the last stitch marker. So last 3 stitches into one in this row. 1, 2, and 3. As you already understood, you can crochet as many rows in your triangle as you want the same way, depending on the size of the triangle that you want to get in the end. After you crochet your last row, you will join it in a different way. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. Leave a little tip and cut the yarn. Pull out the tip. Now I will use a needle with a big eye to make the last stitch of that triangle. So first we insert the needle under the first V-stitch of the last row, like this. Now we need to bring it back to the same stitch where our tip comes from. It comes from here. So we insert the needle into the same stitch and also under this kind of bump on the back side of the triangle. Try to make this last loop the same size as all other loops. So we made the last loop of the triangle. Now on the back side, push the tip under the stitches. You can do that in different directions. And then cut the rest of the tip. So now you know how to crochet a triangle base of any size you want. I hope the tutorial was clear for you. If you like such videos on my channel, please leave your thumbs up, subscribe and share it with your friends and other crochet lovers. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching and see you soon.